Welcome to Dungeon Academics. My name is Thomas and I will be your instructor. We had an unfortunate thing happen in a Dungeons & Dragons campaign with a player having to leave the group. This left the remaining group being a little bit small for the level of difficulty that the Games Master had in mind. And because we wanted to continue the campaign, we were given the option of taking a secondary character to help out in combat. This secondary character would have fewer story hooks, less roleplay interactions, and is mainly there just to balance combat encounters out, which the Games Master has already written or already prepared for, and didn't want to have to rebalance the entire campaign. And I think this is a great compromise. Having another character to work with changes the dynamic for me in combat. So I'll have my main character, William Trott, who is the Bardlock. He is a control character. I think that's going to be great fun. And then I've just got a secondary melee character, Obsidian. He's a bugbear barbarian fighter multi-class. Going to be really great fun to play with. He's going to be just an extra body in combat to balance the encounters out. So the story element and the roleplay element of the campaign remains unchanged for the remaining players, but the combat encounters are going to be balanced because we're going to find some extra characters, rescue them, and add them to the party. That's the setup. The character that I've built for this, Obsidian, Bugbear, Path of the Giant Barbarian Fighter Champion multi-class. I was umming and ahhing about going Champion or Battlemaster. Because he's a secondary character, I wanted to keep things nice and simple, so I went with Champion, so I don't have to track things like Battlemaster maneuvers and have all those extra options. I'm going Path of the Giant. He's going to have a honking great big halberd he stole off an ogre. He's going to get big and he's going to hit things with it and do a lot of damage. It's going to be a fun character to play in combat. Would I ever play this character in a regular game of D&D? No. I think it sounds like quite a boring character to play for role-play and storytelling purposes. He is purely a combat character. He has no particularly useful skills. I mean, he's got perception and survival, which are useful in exploration, and perception's useful all the time. But none of his abilities that he gets from his character classes are particularly useful outside of combat. And this has been an issue for me when generating characters. I want a character that I can play and I will feel is useful in every part of the game. I don't expect them to be the best at everything. The expression there is Mary Sue. I don't want that. I want every member of the party, of every table that I'm in, to have their moment to shine. I know that sometimes my character is going to be the rock star and sometimes they're going to be the bass player. Not saying that bass players can't be rock stars, but you know what I mean in this analogy. Sometimes you're the one at the front that everyone's focusing on, and sometimes you're in the back offering support. I want a character who definitely, this is the moment where I get to shine and I'm going to be amazing and everyone else is going to be supporting me. But then at other times, I get to help other people and let them have their moment where their character is the hero and gets to show off their cool abilities. That's the way I like to play games. And my characters tend to be charisma based. You may have noticed I like talking, so fair enough. I really enjoy the social interaction side of roleplay games, and I enjoy talking myself out of and into trouble. So playing high charisma characters is great fun for me. And playing characters that are useful in combat. I think Dungeons & Dragons is a combat-focused game. So playing a character that's useful in combat is really, really important. But then I need to make sure that my character is going to give everyone else their opportunity to be the hero. And if I can help them do that, if I can have spells that boost their abilities, throw in some inspiration dice to help them out. That makes me feel a lot better as a player, that I can support my team. This Obsidian character does none of that. He's just there for fighting. And in this context, that's fine. That's all I want him for. That's all I need him for. And that's all that he would get to do. I would never play this character in a regular game of D&D. I would find it tedious. But as a supporting character, I think he's going to be fun to play in combat. Do other roleplay games allow you to do this? I think yes. I think a lot of roleplay games allow you to be the star in your moment and a good support character in others. Dungeons and Dragons is interesting that some of the classes are so rigorously defined that outside their speciality, they're not that useful. Plenty of classes have great supporting options that don't rely on a subclass. Clerics, bards, paladins, rogues are always going to be useful in circumstances, whatever element of the game you're playing, whether it's combat, exploration, social interaction, they'll have a role to play. But fighters and barbarians, especially if you then choose some of the more combat refocused subclasses, don't offer that. And I think that's a shame. One thing I've been thinking to myself is, if I was to build up Dungeons and Dragons from the scratch for a 6th edition and Wizards of the Coast, if any of you are watching that, get in contact, because I really want to do that. What would I do to make barbarians useful outside of combat? How can I bring in their menacing presence in a useful way in a social interaction? If you've watched Critical Role Season 1 with Travis Willingham playing Grog Strongjaw, a lot of the times when they're not in combat, he's not doing much. I mean, he's interjecting with witticisms all the time. But his role is not even in a support role. He's there for role play reasons, but not game mechanic reasons. And I don't think that's great. I can see certain elements of frustration that come into that this isn't the part of the game that his character can meaningfully contribute to. How could we make every character feel like they have something to add? They might not be the rock star in that moment, but they still have a contribution to make. That should be the focus for character design. How you can have your character class with their special class action that's unique to that class, that makes them fun and flavorful and effective at the thing they do. But they still have a role to play outside that. They can still contribute to the game mechanically, rather than just throwing in funny one-liners to keep groups' morale up. That's the challenge, and for some classes it's a lot harder than others, but that would be a fun thing to do for game design. And maybe that's what I'm doing in my own time, but that's a secret for now. Anyway, thanks for listening, and enjoy your next game, whatever it may be.